They strung up a fishing line, connected it between the city structures until over half of Manhattan was surrounded.
Ooh, this is pretty misleading and actually completely wrong in every way. The way that he's making this video seem is look like as if the Jews are just taking one little line and surrounding Manhattan with this little fishing line, as if that fishing line makes Manhattan into a private area. That's actually not what happens at all. This is actually completely false in every way. So basically, just a quick background says the Jewish people are commanded by the Creator not to work on Saturday, starting Friday night to Saturday night. And it doesn't just mean don't go to your job. It means don't do 39 specific creative actions, which is not written in the written Torah, but the Creator gave Moses both the written Torah and what's called the oral Torah, which later became the Talmud, which is the explanation of every single commandment. It's impossible to read any part of the written Torah without the Talmud, without the oral Torah, without the explanation of the commandments. So one of those explanations of the commandments is that working on Shabbos means do not do 39 very specific creative actions. Like, for example, do not cook. Not cooking is one of them, because cooking, one is when someone cooks something, it's like they're creating a new existence. They're making something that's soft into something that's hard, even though we can't actually create anything, but things that resemble creating, the Jewish people are not allowed to do. So the primary law of not working on Shabbos is called not transferring objects from a privately supervised area into a public area. This is actually the primary law of Shabbos. The main thing, when it says do not work on Shabbos, the main thing, it's referring to all the 39 things, but this idea of not carrying objects from a private area to a public area, this is like the main part of the Shabbos. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why it happened. Simple reason why it happened, why this is counted, is because anything the Jewish people did in the desert to build the temporary sanctuary called the tabernacle or the Mishkan, they did a lot of things to build this. And the passage in the Torah that says to build this tabernacle and to keep the Shabbos is right next to each other. So part of the explanation of the commandments that the Creator gave Moses is that everything that was involved in building the tabernacle, we are forbidden to do on Shabbos. And one of those things was transferring certain beams from wagons to other wagons through this desert. And this desert was a big public area where 600,000 people were, and the wagons were private areas. But a deeper meaning behind it is that a private area, in Hebrew it's called a area of an individual, literally. Even though if it's owned by a few people, it still counts. But the technical term in Hebrew is an area of an individual, which deep down refers to the Creator. The Creator is like, there's only one Creator. So the area of an individual represents the realm of holiness that's supervised only by the one Creator. And then the public domain is an area of many, where anyone has permission to go. That represents, metaphorically, the realm of evil, because that's like where anyone can go, good or bad. And that's like the idea of like when a four-person soul comes into this world, the soul is like in a private domain, because it's in a domain of pure unity, of only the Creators openly manifested there everywhere. Then the soul gets like sent out to a public domain, to this world that's full of evil, in order to make the public domain into a private domain by bringing the Creator's unity and everything. Anyway, that's a side point. The main thing is that this idea of transferring an object from a private domain to a public domain, you're not actually creating a new thing, technically the same object, but by transferring it from one privately owned area to a publicly owned area, that's creating a new existence. This object previously was under the influence of only privately owned people. Now if it goes into the public, it now becomes under the influence of the public. So that's like a new entity. So this is actually the main thing of Shabbos. So what is considered a public area and a private area? Generally speaking, a public area is anywhere where the public has the permission to go. But which, for example, in the desert, where there's 600,000 Jewish people in the desert, anyone could just walk in the desert. But back in the day, people don't really realize, back in the day, cities were usually surrounded by walls, and they had doors that were locked at nighttime, which means that even if there's a whole city, but that city was still considered a private area relative to the outside, because it was a lot of people were living there, sure, but if they lock the doors at night and they have big walls to keep out bandits and stuff, then that's considered private. So now, in the modern era, we mainly don't have so many walled cities, so pretty much almost no walled cities. So this idea of making a city into a private city it's a little bit nuanced. So the question is Manhattan considered a real public domain according to the Torah law, or is it considered what's called like a not so public domain? It's considered like a kind of a middle ground that's not really public or private. And then but the rabbis came along and they made another decree that even in areas that are not truly public, but they should still be considered as if they're public. So according to this rabbinic decree that the rabbis made, which the Jewish people are commanded to listen to whatever the rabbis say. Whatever the rabbis decree, Jewish people have to listen to them no matter what. So the rabbis decided that certain areas that are not really private or public, sometimes they should also be considered public. But according to those rabbis, in order to make that area which is not really public into private, since it's not really public in the first place, the same rabbis that made the prohibition are the same rabbis that made a way around it, which said you could make like a form of a door called it's called a form of a door in Hebrew, tzuras hapesach, which means you have in the Talmud thousands of years ago, it says you just have like a doorway which has like a tiny little rod or a reed or something on top, then anything on the sides of any width, as long as it looks like a doorway. And then according to the rabbis who made the prohibition, that's saying if something's not really public, not really private, but the rabbis made it public anyway, then this little form, this frame of a door, that is enough to consider that area private. Because the same rabbis that made the prohibition are the same rabbis that said that it's okay in this case. But a true public domain in the Torah is considered, according to many opinions, an area where more than 600,000 people travel every day, which many people consider Manhattan to be like that, because obviously there's more than 600,000 people in Manhattan. Some people say it only counts if there are only 600,000 people within one street area, but that's a minority opinion. And also a public domain has to be somewhere that's completely open with no types of walls whatsoever. But many people say that because Manhattan is surrounded by the sea, then those walls of the sea anyways consider it as not truly a public domain because it anyways has walls. But the point is that even if something is a truly public domain, it could still be made into a private domain through a series of real walls plus doors that are locked at nighttime. It says the point is that even if Manhattan is a truly public domain, if they have what's called doors, delasos in Hebrew, that are locked at night, then that can transform it into a private domain. So in addition to a lot of other walls as well. But this idea that saying is there's just a fishing line going around is completely false, because it's not just a fishing line. The main part of the wall is using existing walls in the city. It says here on kolator.org, the Eruv consists of a combination of building fences, the Central Park wall, a fence on the western boundary, and doors that are locked at nighttime, according to many opinions. Even so, there are opinions that say that we still don't follow it. Some people say that even if there are walls surrounding a public domain with more than 600,000 people, even that doesn't help. But that's a minority opinion. But many people still do not hold of it because of that and other reasons. But the point is, it's not just a fishing line going around Manhattan. It's many different walls, many different existing building walls, fences, and doors that lock at night, which we've known for thousands of years is a legitimate way to make a public domain into a private domain.
A rabbi will drive around and inspect it before the Sabbath, and if he spots a break, a special crew will fix it before sundown on Friday.
Yeah, that's kind of true. To be clear, there are some fishing lines, but it's not like the entire area is surrounded by fishing lines. The idea is that they use existing walls and existing fences throughout the city, and the lines, the fishing lines in some cases, are meant to create this frame of a door to link together the existing walls, because if not for that, then the walls are just separate buildings. They don't have any connection to each other. If we make this form of like a fishing line that connects the existing buildings together so that all the buildings collectively are considered as one domain.
Because during this time, observant Jews can't bring anything out the door of their house, meaning they won't be able to carry their wallets outside.
Okay, well, yeah, that's technically true, but Jewish people are also not really supposed to carry wallets on the Shabbos in general, even inside their house, because another prohibition from the rabbis is not to move around money or things that we would use during the week.
Or even bring their own babies outside.
That's also true.
But the wire acts as a closed boundary, turning that part of Manhattan into one giant private area.
Yeah, again, totally false, because it's not just the wire, it's a collection of existing walls, existing building walls, existing fences. Some people say the walls of the ocean count as well. Some people say that the fact that people have to pay tolls when they go into the bridges in Manhattan is another reason for why it's considered private, similar to the oldest private cities.
Yeah, making it easier for Jews to do things while they technically stay inside.
Yeah, it's not about staying inside. It's about considering it as if it's a private domain that takes it out of the prohibition of the Torah prohibition. And the point is that there's many Jews that don't even follow this at all because, as mentioned, it's a very nuanced issue. Not everyone, they're acting as if like all the Jews all over just rely on this to carry things. Only there's many different debates and discussions, especially when it comes to a city this big. But again, it's pretty nuanced. But the point is that the creator told us what to do, and the same creator that made the prohibitions of carrying outside also gave us the instructions for how to make an area into a private domain. This happens thousands of years ago. We used to have cities that were really big that became private if we have certain things. But again, not everyone even follows this. Only certain people follow this. The point is, it's very nuanced, and this video is total oversimplification in every way.